Part 100. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 992. Just to add, Qin Jiangzi said, "It's not ordinary white jade, it's suet white jade." He stretched out his hands to compare the size. "It's just that big, so big it's worth 7 figures of suet white jade." Akon. He couldn't help but make a hand gesture. "So big, 7 digits." Qin Jiangzi nodded. Akon laughed. "How is it possible? This road is so long, even if Mr. Lu is rich, it is not built like this, right?" Qin Jiangzi gave a tisk sound. "Young man, I told you, you need to be a little imaginative." Akon. Qin Jiangzi put his hands behind his back, with a look of "You are too naive. Who told you that only white jade is used for this road?" He stretched out his hand and pointed forward, with a sense of pointing the country. "The whole manor, all the white floors, are all made of suet white jade, do you understand?" Akon. He shook his head honestly. "No, I don't understand." Qin Jiangzi. He looked at the young man lovingly, and shook his head. "Oh, look at you, a poor little man who has never seen the world." Shuelia Dao on the side glanced at him silently, sneered lightly, and despised him in his heart. Qin Jiangzi even laughed at others. However, he was worried about saving face for his old friend in front of outsiders, so he didn't say it. Akon really didn't believe it. It is impossible for any normal ordinary person to believe such words. No matter how it sounds like nonsense. Okay. Pave the road with suet and white jade, why don't you sprinkle gems in the fountain? Heh, more dreamy, the street lamps are all made of natural crystal, right? His expression was so obvious that Qin Jiangzi couldn't even ignore it. "You don't believe what I say?" This made Qin Jiangzi unhappy. He looked the young man up and down, and asked, "Seeing that you are wearing a camera and dressed like this, are you a reporter from the entertainment industry?" "There's nothing to hide about this, he's here today because of a bigger job." Akon nodded. "Yeah." Qin Jiangzi thought for a while and asked, "Don't you reporters just want to break the news?" Although he never paid attention to these before, after paying attention to Fairy Jinli, he ate a lot of melons and learned something. Qin Jiangzi said, "What a good material we have right now. I can guarantee that the floor of this manor is made of suet white jade. No one else will find out except you." Akon, "Sir, don't make fun of me. It's not like people don't know how to read it, so it's impossible for them to believe this kind of nonsense." "Hey, you young man." Qin Jiangzi sighed, but he was not convinced. "Today I really fell in love with you, don't you believe me? Okay, come on." He pulled Akon down and squatted down. "Come here and take a closer look." Akon. In fact, he is not very happy. Today is not much time, he still wants to dig materials. It's a pity that Qin Jiangzi has great strength. He has no strength to resist when he presses down, and the opponent's aura is strong. So Akon was discouraged. He squatted obediently, and began to listen to Qin Jiangzi's popular science. "Have you heard of suet white jade? Do you know its properties?" Akon shook his head. He is a social animal, and he can't buy a piece of stuff after working for 10 years. What's the use of paying attention? Qin Jiangzi then began to popularize science. "Why is it called suet white jade? It is fat white in color, fine and moist in texture, good in oiliness, soft to touch, right? Translucent and pure, feels like creamy fat. For more, continue later. Ask for a monthly ticket today, be kind. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess." Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 993. Akon actually doesn't understand this at all. But when he heard Qin Jiangzi say this, he looked at it carefully and touched it with his hands. It really is translucent and pure, white and greasy like cream. This. Akin felt that his throat was a little dry. Is there anything that can replace such a touch and color? What do you think? Kinjiangza looked at him like an idiot. Akin thinks this is ridiculous. Although I don't know jade, I have heard of the reputation of suet jade. Don't say it is so extravagant to use it as a floor. How can there be such a large piece of jade? Besides, even if there is, isn't it a waste of money to use it as a floor? How much will it cost? Luz is so rich. Kinjiangza sighed, you don't understand this. For another person, no matter who it is, even the richest man in the world, they can't do such a thing. Not only did he not want to do it, but he might not be able to find so many sheep-fat jades of this size. But Father Lu is not a human being. He is Pixiu. I heard Fairy Jinli say that in the heavens, many jade and jewels are actually worthless and not that precious. It's like there is a sacred mountain. As long as you go up, you will find that the mountains and plains are full of gold and jade. You only need a jar of good wine, and you can exchange a lot of gold and jade from the native monkeys in the sacred mountain. Of course, this Kinjiangza did not explain to Akin. Akin stared tremblingly at the floor in front of him, carefully took out his camera, and kept taking pictures. When he got up after filming, he found that his legs were weak. It's not because my legs are numb after squatting for a long time, it's because my legs are actually weak. It's over, he cried sadly. I just have to imagine that what I'm stepping on can buy 100 million of my treasures, and I'm afraid. The whole person froze in fear. Bow your head like a rich man. Qingyangzi patted him on the shoulder. Young man, don't be so cowardly. Where are you going? You panic like this when you see a floor, won't you have difficulty breathing later? Listen to this tone, isn't it over yet? Akin felt that he was about to suffocate. There is more. Of course, Kinjiangzi admired the shocked look in this young man's eyes, which reminded him of himself who was shocked by Pixiu's father in the past. I have to say that it was quite joyful to see Akin so silly. He leaned over his head quietly, and said to Akin, did you see the large lawn in front of the manor? Akin thought of the beautiful lawn, and nodded, I know, there are many people there. Did you also see the stone paths in the middle of the lawn? Akin nodded again, looked at Kinjiangzi's expression, swallowed, and said nervously, you don't mean that those pebbles? Huh? What pebbles? Mr. Lu can use pebbles. Qingyangzi showed a look of you are really too young. You get close, look carefully, take a close up, and you will find that they are all pearls. Jane, pearl? Akin widened his eyes, a pearl that big? Isn't it? Kinjiangzi chuckled. Dongju of that size was used by the royal family in ancient times, and only a few prominent people could use it. Akin was dizzy again, but he quickly discovered Huadian. No, it obviously looks like a pebble. Kinjiangzi gave him a white look. Look at you silly boy, here you go again, this is low-key. The low-key of the rich, do you understand? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 994. Akin said in his heart that I don't understand. How can I understand the low-key of the rich when I am poor? Pity him for being a good quality young man, who was forced by Qingyangzi to swear in his heart. The key point is that he doesn't regret it after the swearing, he still wants to continue to swear. Because Kinjiangzi felt that this idea was not exciting enough, he pulled him again, and said quietly, I'll tell you another secret. Akon. In fact, I think these two real hammers are definitely going to explode. I think my salary and my bonus will be doubled. But Kinjiangzi's words are damn tempting. Akin couldn't deny that when he heard Kinjiangzi's words, although he was extremely jealous and disgusted in his heart, he was hooked tightly and wanted to continue exploring. Tell me, he said self-destructively, if there is anything else, tell me everything. Qin Jiangzi coughed, don't talk about anything else, I'm afraid that you will be too stimulated all of a sudden, and it will easily cause inner demons, psychological shadows. Akon. Judging from my experience of working as a reporter in the entertainment industry for N years, your expression is full of gloating, and you don't have any worries. But he didn't dare to say that. After all, this guy who knew both Yang Xiu and Dongju looked like a big boss at first glance. Seeing that he clearly had something to say but didn't dare to say it, Qin Jiangzi thought it was funny. He cheerfully continued to break the news. That's right, isn't there a pool under the big fountain of the lawn director? It's full of gems. Akon. Real or fake? He glared at Qin Jiangzi with a shocked my whole family expression. Pack, gem. Qin Jiangzi nodded, this one is easy to recognize. You can steal one while no one is around, and identify it yourself to see if it's real. If you don't recognize it, take it back for an appraisal. You will know if what I said is true or not. Gone. Akon. He shook his head, how can this be taken out, isn't this stealing? Yo, that's pretty straightforward. Qin Jiangzi said with a smile, then you can ask Mr. Lu himself. Akon continued to shake his head, how dare I bother Mr. Lu? Qin Jiangzi stopped talking, and waved his hands in disgust, all right, then you can go. Akon. Qin Jiangzi was shocked after harvesting, with a look of it's useless to want you, I don't want to talk to you anymore, young man, goodbye. Akon. He felt like he was being used up and thrown away, something was wrong with him. But he didn't dare to say anything, he said goodbye to Qin Jiangzi honestly, turned around, stepped on the floor in fear and left, and walked with the faltering feeling of 90 years old. After Akon left, Shueliadao glanced at Qin Jiangzi, and snorted coldly, you are really promising, and you are making fun of a human junior. Qin Jiangzi shook his head, what do you mean by looking for fun? He is a reporter. If he wanted to break the news, wouldn't I be pointing him? If it wasn't for me, would he know this? It's impossible for others to see it. Even if there are people who have researched on these things, they dare not guess at this convenience, it's amazing. Shueliadao sneered, stop pretending in front of me, and point out. Don't you just want to see people shocked? When Qin Jiangzi heard this, he didn't try to defend himself, and stroked his beard cheerfully, it's true. He himself was so shocked that he lost his voice, what to do, he had to see other people thinking the same as himself. It is better to be frightened together than to be frightened alone. 6 more. Good night, big babies, ask for a monthly ticket. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 995. Akon walked carefully on the road with his camera in his hand. As long as he looked down, he could see the spread floor. Just very scared. He was also not sure if what the stranger he just met, whose name he didn't even know, was telling the truth. But the touch of the floor is real. Moreover, since he had this idea in his mind, when he looked at the floors on the ground, no matter how he looked at them, he felt that they were very extraordinary, full of elegance and luxury, money. Enough photos of the floor have been taken, and he is going to take a look at the so-called Dongju pebbles and diamond fountain in front. There are quite a few people in these two places, and Akon even saw several colleagues. When those colleagues saw him, they were also very vigilant. Akon watched them drill into the crowded place, shook his head, found a longer way by himself, and squatted down. Cobblestone. Akon tilted his head and looked, and wondered if Qin Jiangzi's words had played a role. He looked at these cobblestones now, indeed, although the shape was a bit irregular, but strictly speaking, they were the same size. Moreover, that pure white color does not really resemble the texture of pebbles. It's a pity that no matter how many there are, he can't see them anymore. He has never seen what Dongju looks like, and he has to have stock in his stomach if he wants to analyze it. Aiken thought for a while, and no longer struggled. He took out his camera and began to snap close-ups of the road. After hundreds of sheets came in a row, he stopped and heaved a sigh of relief. He was about to stand up when someone tapped him on the shoulder. Aiken looked back in doubt, and heard a burst of unfriendly laughter. Isn't this the Aiken of the stars? Why, come to dig for the big stuff. Aiken stood up, glanced at the man in a floral shirt and a baseball cap in front of him, twitched the corner of his mouth slightly, and said nothing. This person is also his old friend, and the other company is also digging news. The relationship is naturally not good. If they met in normal times, he would definitely go back, but at this moment Aiken's whole heart is on Dongju and the fountain in the distance, so he really has no time to pay attention to him. Seeing him like this, the other party refused to let him go. Hey, Mr. Aiken, don't leave in a hurry. Did you dig something big? Are you in such a hurry? Aiken said with a smile, it has nothing to do with you if you dig it or not. The other party laughed. Didn't I just see that you are so bored on the ground that you hit a stone? He looked quite disdainful. I just think that the stars spent so much money to get you in, Mr. Aiken. Wouldn't they feel ashamed if they took a bunch of stones and went back? Aiken and I looked at his smug look, and said lightly, you better take care of yourself. Don't lose face. After he finished speaking, he ignored the man and left with the camera in his arms. The person behind looked at his back with cold eyes, and sneered, I want you to be proud, and tomorrow you will post a few photos of the stone, and I will see how proud you are. Aiken naturally didn't hear what he said, and he didn't care about what he said. He was crouching by the fountain right now. There are many people here, especially children. He stayed here in some embarrassment, looking at the not-so-shallow water and the shiny stones below. Yes, many people saw a layer of gemstones underneath. But just like what Qing Yangzi said, no one would believe that someone would be so extravagant as to decorate the fountain with precious stones. They all thought it was an ordinary glass ball. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 996. Aiken wanted to fish for one. After all, there was still a difference between a diamond and a glass ball. But, surrounded by people, under the watchful eyes of everyone, he is a big man, how could he have the nerve to fish for things? Aiken squatted aside and fell into a deep silence. However, it is probably because God will give him a chance. Not far to his left, a young master from an unknown family was arguing with his companions, slipped his foot, and jumped down with a plop. Aiken was taken aback, his body jumped down faster than his conscious reaction, and directly picked up the young master who hadn't had time to cry. The pool of the fountain is deep for a child, but nothing for a grown man. Aiken hugged him and put him on the case, and when he turned around, he reached out his hand to grab a handful in the water. Everyone was attracted by the movement here, but most of them were paying attention to the little young master who finally knew how to be afraid and was crying, but few people paid attention to him. Aiken got up by himself, looked at his wet body, and was just thinking about what to do when the staff from the manor came over. They took Aiken to change clothes, and Aiken picked up the bag and camera on the shore and followed them. The clothes fit unexpectedly, there was no brand logo printed on them, but the fabric was high-grade, visible to the naked eye. Aiken wore it on his body, and when he looked in the mirror, he always felt that he was 2 points more handsome. Lu Zhenjia was not there, and Jin Li happened to be in the next room. Hearing about this, he took a look at him. Thank you, she smiled and thanked Aiken. The child fell into the water in the manor. As the host, she said thank you, and it was always fine. Aiken was a little restrained. Seeing Jin Li at such a close distance, he kind of understood why the other party had disappeared for 3 years and still made such a big fuss. Such a face, let alone 3 years, even 30 years, will always be remembered. A startling glance will never be forgotten. Akin bravely asked Jinli for a group photo, and Jinli readily agreed. She is the bride today, the protagonist, very busy, chatting with Akin for a few minutes before leaving. Miss Jinli, Akin called her suddenly. Jinli turned around in doubt. What's wrong? Akin stretched out his hand and spread his palm. I just caught something in the fountain pool. In his palm was a round blue stone. Jinli tilted her head to look at him, and then. Akin was a little nervous. I met a gentleman on the road, and he told me that this is not glass, but a gem. Jinli was surprised that someone recognized it. Who? She turned her thoughts, and had some guesses in her mind. Is it a person who looks 30 or 40 years old, with a thin face and a dusty temperament, and a goatee? Akin nodded, and said in his heart that he guessed correctly. Seeing how Miss Jinli knew it right away, the two must know each other very well. People who knew Miss Jinli very well were probably big bosses. Jinli said, "Oh, I guessed it was him. Mission is poor, but his eyes are very sharp." She didn't deny Akin's words. Akin could only feel his heart pounding. Then Miss Jinli, so, is what that gentleman said true? He looked at the stone in his palm, and said in an uncontrollably excited tone, is this really sapphire? See you later. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 997. This is nothing shameful, Jinli nodded calmly, not bad. Her expression was so natural and calm that Akin couldn't help repeating, is it really a gem? Jinli nodded, yes. Akin looked at the things in his palm a little bit tangled and painful, and sent out a soul torture again, is the whole pool full? When he stepped on it, he could feel it even when he was wearing shoes. There were quite a lot of stones on the ground. Jinli nodded again, it's all of them. Looking at Akin's expression, she took the initiative to answer his question. There's no reason, I have a relationship with Lu Genja, and I thought it looked good, so I did it. Akin. He was silent for a while, suppressing his thoughts of calculating money figures. Then the next topic started. Actually, the gentleman I met didn't just say that. Jinli, oh. Akin said with difficulty, the gentleman told me that all the floors under my feet are paved with suet white jade. He made gestures with his hands to emphasize, that's right, such a large piece of suet white jade worth 7 figures. He looked at Jinli, not knowing whether he wanted a positive answer or a negative answer. Jinli looked at his hand and hesitated for a rare moment. Akin thought in his heart, could it be that it is fake? However, the next moment, Jinli said, I'm not sure if such a big piece is worth 7 figures. After all, the quality of our jade is better than the average one. I haven't sold it yet. Akin. No, this is really not the point. The point is. Really, are they all jade? Akin's voice was trembling. He felt that he couldn't even compare to the bricks he stepped on, it was too miserable. Jinli nodded, it's true. Akin exhaled, and asked numbly, then, those roads on the lawn are inlaid with dongju, so it must be true. Jinli was a little surprised, Qinjiangzi can even see this. Qinjiangzi. According to the tone, it was the strangely dressed gentleman. Could it be that this kind of title is a traditional master, or a Taoist master? Akin thought of Jinli's background that he had known, and thought it was not surprising that she knew a few people from the Taoist sect. No, it doesn't matter anymore. The important thing was that Jinli didn't deny any of them. What the gentleman said was true. This manor is really a manor built with money, pearls, and gems. The conversation should have ended there. When he was leaving for the last time, Akin hesitated, but still asked, "Miss Jinli, you know, I'm a media worker." Jinli looked up at him. Akin asked, "I want to ask you, can what I know today be broadcast? If not, can you give me a little time to do a brief interview with you?" Jinli looked at him in surprise, and said with a smile, "You're so upright, won't you suffer at work?" She didn't expect Akin to ask her opinion. Akin smiled embarrassedly. Celebrities are also ordinary people, and they also have troubles, as well as Mr. Liu. I don't know if this kind of thing will bring trouble to your life if it breaks out. After all, there is no problem for rich people to spend billions to build a manor for themselves. But you are rich enough to use suet white jade to lay the floor, let alone other things. This floor is just. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 998. I'm sorry Akon's math teacher didn't teach him to count such big numbers. But no matter how you look at it, this is not a word count that an ordinary merchant family can come up with. As for the things involved behind the scenes, Akon didn't dare to guess randomly. Jinli smiled indifferently, "It's okay, you can break the news." Akon asked, "Is there really no trouble?" Jinli nodded, "Don't worry, if we dare to take it out, we won't be afraid of being exposed." Based on his understanding of Lu Zhenjia, he should not only not find it troublesome, but also secretly happy. Akon didn't say anything this time, and said goodbye to Jinli politely. He didn't even stay in the manor any longer, and drove back to the company in a hurry. When I returned to the company, it was not time to get off work. When the boss saw him, he was very surprised. "I gave you a whole day today, why did you come back so early?" Akon looked at him a little excitedly. After all, they are partners who have worked together for several years. When the boss saw this expression, he felt that there was something going on. He lowered his voice, and asked excitedly, "Have you got the ingredients?" Akon couldn't hide his excitement. "It's super big, the kind that will definitely explode." The boss glanced left and right, pulled him into the office, closed the door, and turned around, "Quick! Tell me quickly." Akon imported the pictures from the camera to the computer and showed them to his boss. The boss sat down excitedly and clicked on the album. Then, "What's all this?" he looked at Akon. Akon stared at the picture on the screen. "It's all money." "Boss." With a dark face, he said, "Okay, stop joking, and show the truth." Akon sighed, "This is the truth." "Boss." He stared at Akon in disbelief. "The big stuff you're talking about is these landscape photos? There's nothing special about the composition. Do you know how much it cost me to get a wedding invitation? We both want to submit this photo of yours. Get fired." Zhongxing is not a small company. The management is divided into several factions, and there are many open and secret fights. This time the Liu family's wedding invitation card is also an opportunity that Akon and his faction have been fighting for a long time. If they can't get an equal return, their future will be very sad. Akon sighed, "Don't worry, just listen to me, listen to me." He recounted everything Qin Jiangzi said to himself to his superior. After listening to the boss, he looked at Akon with an expression as if he was looking at a mentally retarded person. "You actually believe this kind of thing? Have you been working in the dog's stomach for the past few years?" Akon. The boss continued to swear online, "Return suet white jade. Do you know how valuable and rare this kind of top-grade jade is? Laying the floor? Think about it with your ass, all the jade stores in the entire imperial capital can produce so many sheep. Is it Zibayu?" Akon, "I." "Boss, what are you? You are an idiot." Akon. "Maid, okay, you are the boss, you can swear. I scolded you back in my heart as an idiot." Seeing his boss opening his mouth and wanting to scold him, he quickly said, "But, when I met Jinli later, she admitted it herself." The boss suddenly stood up from the chair. What did you say? Aiken took out his mobile phone and showed his boss a group photo. I said, I can be sure that Jinli affirmed my question, and she said, what I said earlier is true. 4 more. See you there. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 999. The boss looked at him suspiciously. You didn't want to avoid being scolded by me and made it up to lie to me, right? Aiken looked determined. How could I be that kind of person? Moreover, if I really want to make something up, how can I make it up like this? The boss thought about it and said, this sounds too retarded. It really doesn't look like your style. Aiken. He decided to skip the topic and enlarge the high-definition picture to show his boss. Look carefully at these detailed pictures. Really, this kind of appearance and texture. This is definitely not what marble or fake jade can have. The key is this floor. I touched it myself. The touch is really amazing. The boss looked at him suspiciously. Really? Aiken nodded. Of course it's true. He pointed to another set of photos. In this pool, I fished out a gemstone and looked at it. I have seen gemstones before. Really, although the naked eye identification is not reliable, it feels very real. As for Dongju, Aiken shook his head and smiled bitterly. I really don't have any research on this. I have never been exposed to it and don't understand it at all. The boss sat on the chair and didn't make a sound for a long time. Aiken, the boss said slowly, do you know what it means if we send out these photos and what you said? Aiken licked his lips and took a deep breath. I know. The boss said, then tell me. Aiken, the heat is definitely there, and it will continue to ferment. But in the end, it will go to 2 extremes. If it is false, we will be ridiculed by the crowd. What's more serious is that the boss and I will have a difficult time in the company, and we may even be forced to resign and pay liquidated damages. But if it's true. Aiken smiled. How about promotion, salary, and reaching the pinnacle of life? The boss looked at him seriously. Then do you think it is true or false? Aiken thought for a while. I don't think this matter is very reliable no matter how you think about it. But I also feel that as Jinli's identity, there is absolutely no need to lie to me like this. What is she trying to do? The boss looked at the patterns on the table quietly, while Aiken stood quietly behind. He knew that the other person was thinking and he was letting himself make a choice. Aiken admired his boss very much. In this circle, connections and life experience were very important. But the boss has nothing. Over the years, he has managed to reach this point on his own and is now on an equal footing with a group of second and third generations in the company. He is not only capable, but also ambitious, and also visionary. Compared with the boss, he is still young. About 10 minutes passed. The boss said calmly, let's start editing the copy. Aiken's eyes lit up. Okay. The boss smiled lightly. News, isn't it just about blowing up? Give it a try. Everyone will be happy if you win, but if you lose, with my current situation, I won't be in such a miserable state. Aiken, okay. The boss said, after you have compiled it, show it to me. Don't be in a hurry to send it out. Aiken, huh? Don't they all have to be first-hand? The boss glared at him. Who are these people who are so anxious to post? Of course we need to seize the opportunity to share similar content. But what do we have in our hands? It is content that will never be repeated by another person. Why are we anxious? The boss smiled confidently. Let's see later. Today and tomorrow's hot searches will definitely be dominated by weddings. When the popularity is completely fermented. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 1000. When the heat has completely fermented, we will take advantage of the heat and send it out. Akin was amazed and gave a thumbs up to his boss, as expected of the boss. The boss gave him a blank look, elm head. Akin was scolded but didn't say anything. He touched his nose and started editing the copy. What the boss said is absolutely correct. Since noon, guests and media have been sending photos and messages one after another. Hashtag Jinli wedding scene hashtag. Hashtag Jinli wedding super luxurious manor hashtag. Hashtag Neverland manor in princess fairy tales hashtag. Hashtag what does a rich person's wedding look like? Hashtag. Hashtag big bosses gathered together to live broadcast Lou's wedding hashtag. Wait, hot search, almost occupying the pages of major media. The most popular ones are the photos of the wedding scene. The pictures are very complete, including panoramic views, distant views, and close-ups. There is really no place that is not exquisite and gorgeous. Netizens started howling again. Lemon fruit on the lemon tree, me under the lemon tree, damn it, I'm so sore. I always thought that rich people were just rich people, but now I discovered that the rich man is my dad. Don't mess around upstairs, as we all know my father is the only female goose. The previous one is a bit shameful, I am my father's daughter. Should I wipe this manor, is this real? I'm so impressed, only princess fairy tales would dare to write like this, right? It's so romantic. Oh my god, if you can hold a wedding in a place like this in your lifetime, you will really have no regrets, right? I heard that Father Lu had prepared the manor for several years just to give Jinli a perfect wedding. Today is also a qualified pickled fish. I used to think that Western-style castles were my ultimate longing for a mansion. Dad Lu taught me a lesson today. Can tourism be opened? I want Hong Kong, I want to go to Hong Kong, just take a look. Of course, some people are envious, while others are also bitter. Oh, really? Setting up such a big fight for a wedding is a waste of money and people. If you have the money, why not donate it to the disaster area? So annoying. Click on the homepage to see the gossip about these celebrities again. The world knows everything about actors, so why can't they recommend something nutritious? There are so many idiots who are truly envious. Where does the money come from for capitalists like the Lu family? Isn't it just from you people? There's something wrong with it. If you don't steal or rob the money you earn, you can spend it however you like. It's none of your business. The keyboard warrior Madonna bitch is out again. May I ask how much money you donated? Some people are really bitches, and sour. If I had so much money, I would do the same thing. Isn't it just to make yourself happy and make your wife happy when you make money? Jinli was currently nestled in Lu Zhenjia's arms, looking at her cell phone. She was still a little surprised. Hey, the reporter I met before didn't send any news. The reporter from before was referring to Akon. Jinli later told Lu Zhenjia about this. It was rare for Lu Zhenjia to be so interested in things that had nothing to do with Jinli. As a result, after waiting for a long time, no relevant news came out. Instead, I saw a lot of news related to my wedding on the homepage. Jinli watched and occasionally read out some interesting comments. She turned back and smiled at Lu Zhenjia. Everyone is saying that you and I are a perfect match. This is a fact. Except for a few idiots who say depressing words on someone's happy day, most people will sincerely congratulate them. Lu Zhenjia laughed when he heard this. Of course, we are a perfect match. 6 updates completed. Exactly 1000 chapters, happy. Sprinkle flowers, sprinkle flowers. Please give me a monthly ticket. Good night. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 1001. Jinli and Lu Zhenjia waited for a whole day but still didn't hear any news about the materials used in the manor. However, many netizens praised it and said that the manor looks gorgeous and high quality, but the materials used are not cheap. But that's all. Even if their imaginations were magnified 100 times, they wouldn't dare to think about the truth. An unexpected thing happened. Among the hot searches such as #JinLi Wedding Manor hashtag, there was one that surprised everyone. #SuHexiangLuqingyuan hashtag. Click on it and you will see a short video shot from a distance and 2 photos. The photo showed the 2 of them sitting, with Suhexiang leaning back on the chair slightly, as if sleeping, and Lu Qingyuan sitting on the side. In the video, the 2 of them were standing and sitting together, seemingly chatting. The 2 of them seemed to be sitting relatively close to each other, and their expressions when speaking could not be clearly seen, but the distance was there, and their movements were not out of place at all. The location of the photo seemed to be the manor where JinLi's wedding took place, and there was no one around. The marketing account probably wanted to lead the 2 of them in an ambiguous direction, but except for a few people, most fans ignored it. Suddenly I feel that Susu and Lu Shen are a good match, just in terms of appearance. I, Susu, have been single for so many years. If I really want to find a man to marry, I think Lu Shen can do it. Susu seems to be older than Lu Shen, right, always feeling a little weird at the end of the year? I feel like the 2 of them really match each other in terms of personality, appearance, and temperament. Ha 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 ha, looking at the distance between the 2 of them chatting, they are too distant and restrained, right? Susu looks so tired. I know she has been filming abroad recently. Did she take time out to attend JinLi's wedding this time? My makeup cannot hide my fatigue. I feel sorry for my Susu, and I am moved by the sisterly love that moves heaven and earth. Is this catching up on sleep? Yesterday, I saw a fangirl picking me up at the airport. Susu rushed back overnight. It was really hard. Hate, when I saw Susu going to Lu Shen's concert 3 years ago, I was in love with Qingxiang CP for a while. Unfortunately, I have already seen through it in the past 3 years. Susu and Lu Shen are just fans and male idols, ambiguous, non-existent. Susu is so beautiful, and Lu Shen is so handsome. Marketing number. Aren't my photos ambiguous enough? What are your eyes looking at? Aren't the 2 of them sitting close to each other? Don't you think the way Lu Shen looks at Suhexiang makes sense? Aren't you fans the best at figuring out how restrained and distant the 2 of them are when chatting? Aren't you the ones who like to take CP the most? Give it to me. Get on top of me. However, fans from both sides. Susu works so hard. The 2 of them standing together are so eye-catching. The 2 of them are indeed friends. No wonder I always see Susu in the VIP seats at Lu Shen's concerts. Marketing number. Humming mad. Lu Qingyuan, who was also scrolling on Weibo. He didn't understand why the painting style was like this. It's better this time. You don't have to worry about causing any trouble to the other party, and you don't need to refute the rumors. Of course, Suhexiang also saw this hot search. When she saw the comments below, she smiled lightly. As expected. In the past 3 years, she had done so much overtly and covertly in order to get close to Lu Shen and keep the relationship between the 2 at a serious and unambiguous level. Long-term guidance has convinced fans of both parties. She, Suhexiang, is a music fan of Lu Shen, and the 2 of them are good friends and have nothing to do with each other. Now that I think about it, that's not bad.